He was charged with a murder he did not commit. And this morning, Jovan Mosley is here to talk about life after being exonerated.
Also with us this morning, the lawyer who fought for his innocence, Laura Caldwell, who is also the director of Loyola University's Life After Innocence program. Thank you both for being here. This is an issue that keeps coming up over and over. Jovan, you served 6 years in prison for a crime you did not commit.
Yes, that is correct. It was waiting for a trial in Chicago's Cook County Jail.
Waiting for a trial for 6 years, right?
6
So
years.
how does that happen? You're just sitting there saying like, hey, don't I deserve a trial? I mean, how does it go 6 years with you just sitting there waiting?
I myself do not understand how it could take so long, but it's interesting because, most people just think that when people are arrested that they're in there for maybe a year at the most, but in my case,
Months.
It was almost 6 years.
Laura, how did you discover Jovan? And then what is the answer? Are there people, is this an isolated instance or does this happen more often than we think?
It happens more often than you think. Jovan was actually discovered by a friend of mine, Catherine O'Daniel, great criminal defense lawyer, who literally bumped into him in county jail and started talking to him and said, you haven't been here 6 years. Nobody's been here that long.
Yeah.
Right.
She looked into it. It was true. She took it on as her first pro bono case ever. And we found that, unfortunately, it's not an isolated incident. It's not super prevalent, but Chicago Magazine reported on it. And there were, at one point, about 56 people who'd been in there 6 years or more waiting.
The other thing I think that is just disturbing, to use one word about this case, is that there was a confession involved. So a false confession, as it turned out. And I think it's really hard for juries, and you've talked about this in some of what you've taught in your reports, and is that juries don't understand why you would confess to a crime that you did not commit. But explain to us, if you can, Jovan, why that happens, because we're hearing about it more and more.
Well, in my case, if you're being interrogated for days and the police are constantly asking you questions, you're not able to make phone calls, you tend to get worried. So when they bring a ray of light saying that if you say this, you can go home, or if you agree to sign this, you can go home, it's like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes in order for me to go home.
So Jovan ultimately released and exonerated, and then talk to me about how you go from that point to becoming a student at Loyola in your third year. You want to become a lawyer. How did your life wind up as it has? What happened?
And congratulations, by the way, on the
go.
success and much more. We wish you much more to come.
Thank you. Well, I was determined when I came home to be a productive citizen. So I had my mind made up that I needed to go to school. I needed to find a job. I had to press and keep going and never stop. And that was my goal, to be a lawyer. So I have an associate's in criminal justice from Daly. Now I'm in Loyola pursuing my undergrad in managerial arts with a paralegal certificate.
And the book is The Long Way Home.
The book is called The Long Way Home, and it describes what I think has been his best tool, his just absolute refusal to be bitter. That is what has let him go so far, if you ask me. He just chooses not to be bitter, refuses to be angry, refuses to look at the world,
And thank goodness, you won't say this, but thank goodness an attorney like you spotted your case, right?
Yeah.
And said,
Yes.
look, this is just wrong, and took it to where it is now. You're also with the Life After Innocence project at Loyola University, the director. And, thank you both for being on the show. Good luck to you,
Yeah,
Jovan.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And with the book,
Thank you.
Long Way Home.
And the other great twist is these two have become wonderful friends.
Good friends, yes.
Didn't you
stood up
stand
in
up?
the wedding.
in your
I was
wedding,
his
right?
best man.
Yeah.
I wore a tux and an orange vest, which does not go good with red hair.
It's a great story.
Yes, it is.
Continued success,
Yeah.
Jovan.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you guys very much
Appreciate
for
it.
having us.
Up next, you will now have to pay more if you get stopped for a traffic violation.